We're gonna get started in about 2 minutes. 2 minutes, we'll get started. Heading here towards the airport of Salt Lake City, and we're about to go. I'm here with, of course, my better half, Mr. James Linhart. We're about to go record some videos for the new system that's launching. We're gonna have an onboarding process for affiliates, onboarding process for customers, onboarding process for customer getters, people who just want to sell products. So it's very, very, very exciting time. So I see Miss Catherine. How are you? Jennifer, how are you? Welcome, welcome. Miss Marie, how are you? Miss C, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, Angel. Brenda, welcome. I know we're gonna finish the last time we talked about a book to call it Talent Code. Remember that? Some of you were if you press one if you were in the AM Power, the first half of the book, the talent code that we just went over. Press one if you were there and you saw the first. Press two if you have no idea what I'm talking about. So press one if you've seen it, you were there. Press two. Okay, Marty, thank you. All right. Okay. Okay, we got a lot of twos. Perfect. I'll do a quick summary of the first half. I won't go through everything because that will say a whole 30 minutes, but I'll do a summary on this in the first half. So we'll get started in the next 1 minute, guys. We'll get started. Thank you. Let me get myself in a place where I can be sitting down, which I'll be walking in right now. So welcome, everybody. Welcome. Super excited to be here. Look at this. Hey, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Miss Tara. I'm going to be calling you in a little bit, actually, to talk to you about the customer acquisition onboarding process. So good morning. Good morning, Trisha, Lonnie. Good morning. Good morning, Thomas. Sharon, good morning. Hi, good morning, Laura. Mr. Keith Williams, good morning, sir. Mr. Dell, good morning. Mr. J, good morning, all you iPhones out there, my iPhone people. Deuces to the iPhone. Good morning, good morning. Mr. Ethan, sir, good morning, sir. Good to see you, Mr. 8. Mr. Alvin, looking good, sir. Look at you, ready to go. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get this party started. And about 30 more seconds, give me 30 more seconds, and we're gonna be able to
you can go forward up to
we're gonna be able to get started.
Because that's a check-in.
Yeah, you want that check-in over there with American.
That's where I'll be able to drop my bag off.
A little more forward.
All the way up to A10.
A10?
Yep.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're getting to the airport. Good morning, guys. Been letting guys. Good morning. We are gonna get this party started right now.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you very much.
Have a wonderful.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so little quick recap. We talked about a book called The Talent Code. The Talent Code is a book by Daniel Coyle. He's a researcher that started studying all these what he called talent hotbeds. Hotbeds it's a group of individuals that became outliers from this one location. And there's many examples like Brazil, a talent hotbed for soccer. You also have the Sparkus tennis club in Russia. 17 of the top 20 tennis came from this one little place, and there's just it goes on. I'm gonna go ahead and sit down over here, and we're gonna go ahead and share some slides with you guys in just a second. So let me go ahead and share my screen right now. So Perfect. Here we go. So if you guys remember, we talked about a little bit about this. How Sparks Tennis Club, how can one tennis school produce more top 20 players than the entire United States combined? And we also have these tennis players, they how Linda Septian in Dallas, Texas, produced from one studio, produced all these incredible artists. We talked about the writers, also Patrick Bronte, and these are called talent hotbeds. So we're gonna skip a little more. What we found out was that the talent hotbeds were created by a phenomenon, we can call it, when Gary McPherson, a doctor, who did a study on a girl who did a month's practice within 6 minutes. Imagine accelerating your learning a month practice within 6 minutes. And he said the way to do this is by operating at the edge of your abilities, outside your comfort zone. Accelerate your learning through what is called deep learning, deep practice. And this is right outside your comfort zone, operating at the edge of your ability. So, and we talked about how there's this experiment here that if you go in the A column and the B column, if you start memorizing each of these, in the B column, you have bread and there's the letter missing, right? But you can still kind of figure it out. Bread and butter, music and lyrics, shoe and sock, phone, book. Well, that little struggle causes 300% more effectiveness. If you were to do a quiz right now in memory, the column B, you would be able to memorize it 300 times more effective because of what? Because of the little struggle, a little stretch that you did, a little stretch. So it's the same thing when you go out there, and what's happening in your brain. And again, this is a real quick recap. Is what is myelin is being created. Myelin is the nerve. It's the insulation that wraps nerve fibers in your brain. Nerve fibers, every time they fire, it's everything, right? Whether you're walking, standing, running, throwing a football, it's nerve fibers. And the more you optimize that nerve fiber by creating more myelin, and myelin is created through struggle, that a talent is created and a skill set is honed in and developed. That's what myelin does. So, so we're gonna skip all this, but here's what Dr. George Bilkowski said: struggle is not even an option. It's a biological requirement for you and I to be able to accelerate our learnings. Don't reserve yourself to say, how can I make least mistakes? No, go out there, operate at the edge of your abilities. And by its own nature, when you operate at the edge of the ability, you will make mistakes, but you will accelerate yourself and your growth much faster. And we talked about a baby, right? How often does a baby fall in the beginning? And to what point do we tell the baby, hey, stop trying? We never tell a baby stop trying. We tell them, hey, until you keep going, you're going to keep trying and falling and keep trying until you walk. That's exactly the same way we're going to talk about. Obviously, did some experiments. And here's what Thomas J. Watson said, the founder of IBM. He said, the way to succeed is to double your failure rate. Go out there. He's basically saying that the way to succeed is to operate at the edge of your abilities. And this is where we left off. So I know we talked about also Anderson Erickson, who wrote the book Outliers. He pioneered the 10,000 hour rule and asking questions asking the question, how do people do this? What do they do? And he started doing experiments. Started talking about geniuses like Bobby Fischer, right? But Bobby Fischer put 9 years before achieving grandmaster status at the age of 17. And talked about Mozart. Mozart's considered a musical genius, but by the age of 6, has studied 3,500 hours. I mean, you studied 3,500 hours by the age of 6, you're gonna be a genius in whatever it is. So we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna skip this part. And here we are. This is what we actually left off right here. Okay, the importance of repetition and automaticity cannot be overstated. Repetition is the key to learning. Jim Rohn says repetition is the mother of learning and the father of skill sets. And I will even add repetition is the mother of learning, father of skill sets. If you do it at the edge of your ability, then it will be the equation for mastery. When you operate at the edge of your ability and you're doing it through repetition. I mean, that's incredible. So let's talk. Here's where we left off. Here we go. There's three main clusters of greatness in the Renaissance. In the Renaissance, it happens. This happens in Athens, and from the year 440 and the year 380 BC, Florence from 1440 and 1490, and London from 1570 1640. Of these three, none so dazzling and well documented as the Florence. In this space of a few generations, a city with a population slightly less than the present Stillwater, which is about 300,000 people, Oklahoma, produced the greatest outpouring of artists achievement the world has never known. A solitary genius is easy understanding, but dozens of them in a space of 2 generations. How could this be done? And again, this is from the book. So, like the Mona Lisa, Michelangelo, Da Vinci, all these came from the same era. Ain't that crazy? From the very same era. And here's what happens in Florence. It turns out that Florence had an epic center for the rise of a powerful social invention called crafts guilds. Here's how it works. The guilds were built on the apprenticeship system, in which boys around 7 years of age were sent to live with masters for fixed terms of 5 to 10 years. Apprentices learned the craft from the bottom up, not through lecture or theory, but through action, mixing paint, preparing canvases, and sharpening chisels. In other words, at the age of 6 or 7, these kids were sent to these masters to work with them, and they were already learning through action, learning at the edge of their abilities. And this is where Michelangelo came. This is where Da Vinci came from. This is when with all these great, incredible painters and artists. This is where all they came from. They all came from the same time because of this incredible invention, the guilds. So, and consider Michelangelo. Okay, Michelangelo, from the age of 6 to 10, lived with the stonecutter, learning how to handle a hammer and chisel before he could read or write. Okay, from the age of 6 to 10. Okay, he was doing that. Apprentice, he went to apprentice with Dilarandirio. He worked with blockbuster commissions, sketching, copying, and preparing frescoes. He was then taught by master sculptor Bertoldo, tutored by other luminaries, and home Lorenzo da Vinci till the age of 17. Little known artist until he produced the Pieta at the age of 24. By the way, the Pieta is the most it's right there, the picture of it. The picture doesn't know justice. It was incredible. It's an incredible piece of art. Like it defies the mind when you look at it, what a human being is capable of. It's just incredible, impressive. And it's huge, by the way. This is small, but it's huge. People call the Pieta pure genius, and it looks like pure genius. I've been to Rome. I've seen them for myself. And then here's what Michelangelo says. If people knew how hard I had to work to gain my mastery, it would not seem so wonderful at all. Let me repeat that. If people knew how hard I have to work for my mastery, it wouldn't be so wonderful at all. If you knew what Michelangelo, if you've gone through what he's gone through, you would say, of course, I'm capable of doing this. I operated at the edge of my abilities. So that's Michelangelo. Anything worth doing is worth doing until you learn to do it well, Zig Ziglar says. Now, are you engaging in deliberate practice? That's the question. If you're having more than 80% success at any of your anything you're doing, you're wasting your time. You have to go out there and operate at the edge of your abilities, where you're constantly pushing yourself, and you relearn to reframe failure or reframe things not going your way. It won't go your way until it goes your way, and it goes your way in a mastery. I mean, the equation is very simple. Effort in equals effortless out. The more you do something, the more effort you do, the more effortless it looks later on. Bruce Lee, one of my favorite childhood heroes, he used to say, I do not fear the man who can throw 10,000 kids. I fear the man who can throw 10,000 kicks. That's the same kick 10,000 times. This is what practice is, okay? Now, so how do you accelerate your learning? Daniel Coyle even talks about how to go out there and do this. He says he called it chunking. The secret of accelerating struggle
In the talent hub is that chunking takes place in 3 dimensions. Okay. First, participants look at the task as a whole in one big chunk and a mega circuit. Second, they divide it into smaller possible chunks. Third, they play with time, slowing the action down, then speeding it up and learn its inner architecture. So chunking in network marketing, you can chunk, right? If I tell you, hey, let's look at Diamond. Well, Diamond is simply 50,000 in GV. Well, that's the big view, right? What else? What can we chunk it down? Well, let's chunk it down to silvers. That's 20 silvers. Each silver is 2,500 points. So 2,500 points divided into 50, that's 20. So that's 20 silvers in your organization. You reach the position of diamond. Now, the first one, well, what I got to do first, well, I got to get myself to silver first. Now, what you just do, you just chunk a big goal and you focus 100% focus on launching people and getting yourself to silver and getting other people to silver. And now you took a big goal and you chunked it down to little bit of more manageable steps. Okay. Well, look, anybody know this guy? As football coach Tom Martinez likes to say, it's not how fast you do it, it's how slow you can do it correctly. Meaning you can repeat the movement, do it correctly, and that's what he's referring to. What's the big picture? Some people are laying bricks and others are building a castle. Let me tell you, you gotta have the big picture mindset. You're always building a castle, but you do that by laying perfectly the brick perfectly in place. Okay, I'll give you an example, and this is let's give you an example. Let's say you have 100 leaders in your organization, right? 100 leaders, each of them doing I call it PBRs, but really I went away from doing PBRs. That's private business receptions, but let's just say that's a home meeting, okay? Home meeting or Zoom meeting. If 100 leaders are doing 4 home meetings or 4 Zoom meetings a week, well, that's 400 in a week you're doing. Average guest attendance per PBR or home meeting or Zoom meeting is 4. So that equals 1,600 exposures on behalf of your business each week. A week, 4 weeks in a month, that's 6,400 exposures on behalf of your business. 30% ratio, that's 19. That's 1,920. 500 QV, that's called the Pro Pack. That's a total of 960,000 QB, which is close to purple diamond now. Just with 100 leaders doing 4 presentations a week. With your leader, you're doing more than 4 presentations a week. Okay, so another way to duplicate, for us to duplicate, and you heard this before, is the I do, you watch method, which is action and developing presenters and teaching others how to be presenters. When you're doing a presentation, I like to have my guests that I'm doing a presentation for there, or my affiliate that I'm working with. And again, I'm learning. I'm talking about here how to accelerate your learning, how to accelerate your duplication, how to accelerate your business. So you're gonna do this by I do you watch. Like the first week, all presentations I do you watch. The second week, I do you help. So now you're doing the back, maybe the front half of the presentation. I do the back half. The third week, you do, I help. So now we reverse roles where you're doing the back of the presentation, I'm doing the front half. The 4th week, you do, I watch. So now I'm closing for you and I'm helping you. And then last week, you do and communicate feedback and duplicate this. You do and duplicate. Okay, so that is an incredible way to do this. This is a John Maxwell. That's where I heard it first for the first time. Brian Tracy said the best leaders don't create followers; they create other leaders. Okay, let's go back to the book right here. This book, this is incredible. Dr. Group. This is an amazing experiment they did. Proving that myelin matters. And just because you have myelin in a specific skill set doesn't mean you're great at everything, by the way. You're just great at that because you've optimized it through myelin, basically going over and over, operating at the edge of your ability, repetition and failing, and then correcting errors and doing it again. Okay, so check this out. They did an experiment. Dr. Root was born in 1914, was a Dutch psychologist who played chess in his spare time. To investigate, he set up an experiment involving both masters players, or more ordinary ones. Okay, so he set a group. The group placed chess pieces into positions from real games. Okay, from real games. He put positions where chess masters would recognize that where those places are at. Gave the players a 5-second glimpse of the board and then tested their recall. Okay, here's what happened. The masters players recall the pieces on the arrangement 4 to 5 times better than the ordinary players did. So here I show you a chess place, a chess with a bunch of chessboard with a bunch of pieces everywhere, and the masters 5 seconds. You look at it, and then I say, okay, you got to memorize it. Where are the pieces at? And they did it, and they were able to do it. Very very world class players, near 100% recall. But here's what happened. He said the chess pieces in random arrangements now. A and a reverend and then retested them again. Suddenly, the master's advantages vanished, meaning they were not able to recall because the chess pieces were no longer where they were supposed to be. They were just in random places where it was outside of their myelin capabilities. So they score no matter the master scored no better than or lesser players in one case, and master chess did worse than the novice. Meaning, skills consist of identifying important elements and grouping them into meaningful frameworks. This means that the framework of the master went away. What does this tell you and me? That anybody, my friends, anybody can become a master. You just got to follow the master's principles. Operate at the edge of your ability, create myelin through repetition of repetition, and correct errors. This is what happens. Now get this. How many of you? Okay, let's say you see right here. If I say we climb Mount Everest on Tuesday morning, how many of you guys look at the bottom part? How many of you guys figure the clue? Let's say this is a clue. I'm gonna give you how many of you guys figure this one out so far? Right, now you're looking at it, right? Now get this. This is what happened with the this is what happened with the chess masters. Is, by the way, these are all the same letters. The only difference is it's inverted. This right here is inverted. So because of it, it looks like gibberish. But the moment you look at the top, your brain is able to recognize it because why? Because of myelin. Myelin is recognizing this and is. But if I show this to someone that does not speak English, does not read English, did you know they would not be able to tell the difference between these two sentences? They look exactly the same to them because there's none of them is myelinated. So this is another example of what I'm talking about. So deep practice is not simply about struggling. It's about seeking out a particular struggle, which involves a cycle of distinct actions, okay? So here's how you create, going back, how you create myelin. You pick a target, you reach for it, you evaluate the gap, the target, and the reach, and then return to step one. So repetition, you look for the target you're looking for, you reach for it, and then you evaluate where you did. I mean, one of my favorite authors, he says, plan, do, review. You make a plan, you do the plan, and you review the results to then repeat again and make more plans. Check this out. One of my favorite stories, Roger Bannister, right? Systematically attacked the 4-minute mile record. He broke the mark by a fraction of a second, earning headlines around the world. Lasting fame for the Sports Illustrated, later called the single greatest athlete accomplishment between the 20th century. Roger Bannister breaking the 4-minute mile. But here's another story that you might not know. Did you know that weeks after Bannister broke the record, another runner from Australia named John Landing broke the 4-minute mile barrier? Not only did he break the 4-minute mile, he beat Roger Bannister's record. But you never heard of John Landing, have you? Within 3 years, no fewer than 17 runners have matched the greatest sporting accomplishment of the 20th century. Then what happened? The change didn't come from inside of the athletes. They were responding to something outside of them. The 17 runners have received a clear signal from the outside, right? You too can do this. And the 4-minute mark, once an insurmountable wall, was instantly recast as a stepping stone. Here, we're going to shift gears a little bit. And what we call, what Daniel Coyle talks about ignition. And this is why it's so important to come to events, by the way. Events create what is called ignition. You see, what happened with John Landing is that he already had the cardio. He already had the training within him, but he needed an outside proof that this could be possible. And that outside proof created the energy, what Daniel Coyle is ignition. This is what happens to me. This is what happened to so many people. When I first saw, I remember one of my first time that I made a decision that I was going to become a professional network marketing is when I saw a 19-year-old kid making a six-figure income in network marketing. And when I saw that at the time I was 16 years old, he was 19. And I told myself, man, I can do this. And I believed it. The energy for me to go out there and learn it and produce the results was created from an outside stimulus, i.e., seeing a 19-year-old give a seminar for the first time. Now get this. The current world record is Morosco's Hicham El Gurijio with 3 minutes and 43 seconds and 0.13. Look at him. Look at how happy that guy looks. That guy's happy as hell. Look at that. Like just running a 3 minute 43-second mile. Look how happy that guy is. So ignition is also what he calls primal cues, by the way. Primal cue is a cue, it's an outside cue that forces energy within you. Now get this. Ignition is about the set signals of subconscious force that create our identity. The moment that leads us to say, that is who I want to become, or that's who I want to be. Incredible how this has been studied, by the way. For example, let me give you a study, a real case of ignition and primal cues. Okay, for South Korean golfers, it was the afternoon of May 18, 1998, when 20-year-old named Siri Park won the McDonald's LPGA championship and became the national icon. Before her, get this, before her, no South Korean has succeeded in golf. Flash forward 10 years later, and Park's countrymen women has essentially colonized the LPGA tour with 45 players who collectively won about 1/3 of the events. It went from one South Korean golfer to 45 Korean golfers. Why? Because now that's called ignition. That's called the primal cue, where they saw the other golfers saw another girl say, oh, I can do that. I want to do that. This is why it's so important to get your team to the event. You want to create primal cues within the subconscious mind of people so they too say, I want to do that, creating leverage for yourself and building up a brand new leader, the birth of a brand new leader within your organization. Dr. G.F. Cohen, the University of Colorado, everything depends on collective effort and cooperation, he says. When we get a cue, the outside cue that I'm referring to, that we ought to connect our identity with a group, like this is what happens to the golfers, what happens in network marketing, is like a hair trigger, like a turning light switch. The ability to achieve is already there. Let me repeat that. The ability to achieve is already there. But the energy to put into that ability goes through the roof. And let me tell you, to achieve mastery at anything, you've got to put in the energy, and the energy has to be there for you to do it. Here's another one. This is another doctor. Pursuing a goal. This is I forgot his name, but it'll come up in just a second. Pursuing a goal, having motivation, all that predates consciousness, he says. Says John Barr, psychologist of Yale University, I remember now, who pioneered automaticity studies in the mid-1980s. Our brains are always looking for cues as to where to spend energy. Now, he says, we're swimming in an ocean of cues constantly, responding to them. But like fish out of water, we just don't see them. So our brain's always looking for the cues for us to create energy. Our brain's automatically is doing that. We got to give this to our affiliates and our brand new people that are entering the business. Here's what he also says. He called it the Scrooge principle. This is funny, the Scrooge principle. I laugh at that. Scrooge. Okay. Our unconscious mind is a stingy banker of energy reserves, keeping its wealth locked in a vault. Direct pleas to open the vault often don't work. Scrooge can be fooled that easily. But when he hits with the right combination in a primal cue, when he's visited with a series of primal cues goes, you might say that the tumbler flicks The vault of energy flies open, and suddenly it's Christmas Day. Here's what he's describing. Again, I'm going to relate it all to network marketing into our business model. The reality is that I hear this sometimes I hear people for frustration. I even said this, man, if I can just get myself to do this, if I can just get myself to do workout, if I can just get myself to do something, what we're looking? We're looking for that energy cue to be open so the vault can be open. And that's what we're looking for. And this is what he's saying, that you have to look for that cue, that outside cue he's gonna open that vault for you. And that energy is already within you to do it. Here's another one. Okay. Going back to Dr. Gary McPherson, where he says in 1997, Gary McPherson set out to investigate why certain children progress quickly at musical lessons, others don't. Okay. He undertook a long-term study and sought to analyze the musical development of 157 randomly selected children. The children were asked to identify how long they plan to play. The options were through this year, through primary school, through high school, all my life. And their answers were categorized in 3 categories: short-term commitment, medium-term commitment, and long-term commitment. Let me explain this to you in a very simple way. So this guy, what he did, he said, hey, he took about 157 kids. He said, hey, listen, let's how often are you going to play this instrument? Some kids were like, I don't know, maybe for some time. Other kids were like, I think I'm going to do this for a little bit. And the last category was long-term commitment. You kidding me? I'm going to do this forever. I love this. Basically what happened. So they followed the children 4 years later. Here's what they found out. Here's the study, by the way. The long-term commitment, the people that would say, hey, I'm going to do this forever, the long-term commitment would merely 20 minutes of weekly practice progress faster than the short-term commitment who practice for an hour and a half. In other words, people that make a long-term commitment create short-term results. So when you create better results when you have a long-term commitment. Some people, here's what happens. People enter in our industry. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna give this 90 days and see what happens. No. You already lost. You got to give this a long-term commitment. You got to say, I'm gonna give this 5 years. And then from there, that's when results come. Then you progress much faster. In this case, it was like it was 400% more results. 400% more results. The long-term commitment created than the other 2 groups combined. Again, you cannot come in here with that. Anything in life that you come with a short-term commitment, you will produce no results whatsoever, very little results to none. But when you come in with a long-term commitment, you're going to come in psychologically, your brain's going to go to work at a different level, and you're going to create the results that you're looking for. So Carol Dweck, professor of psychologist. How much time do I have? So it's 10:30? 10:32? Oh, wow. Let me finish this one, and then we'll go. Okay, guys, I got to go. But I know you guys are enjoying this. Let's talk about this real quick. Last one. Carol Dweck, professor of psychology at Stanford University. She wrote the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. By the way, incredible book. I highly recommend it for you guys to go check it out. She says, left to our own device, we go along in a pretty stable mindset. But when we get a clear cue, remember the cue, the outside cue, where it right? This is 2 different doctors talking about the same thing, by the way. Cue message that sounds like a spark, like a boing, the boing response, something like boing, and then they're like ding, little bell, little light that turns on. That's what it sounds like, he says. And that's when the cue turns on for you to go out there and go hard on this. This is another study, 400 fifth grader studies. I love this study. And I'm going to close with this one, okay? We're not done with the book yet, but I'll finish it for the next time. But I'll close with this. We're giving 400 fifth graders, we're giving the same test. Check this out. This is important to know, especially if you have kids, by the way. If you have kids, pay attention. And if you don't have kids, you're still building a team. So you got to realize, how are you going to praise your team? Check this out. Group A was praised with, you must really be smart to qualify for this test. So a bunch of kids are like, hey, you must be really smart to qualify for this test. The kids are like, yeah, thank you. Group B was praised, you must have worked really hard to qualify for this test. So Group B, they tell them, hey, you worked really hard, and that's what we're going to give you this test. So they're like, okay, cool. So what happens? Well, later, the 400 fifth graders, they were offered the harder test versus an easier test. So now they finished the test, and then the second test, and they were offered a second test. Group A asked for the easier test. So they say, hey, you want an easier test or harder test? Group A asked for the easier test. Group B, 90% asked for the harder test. Why is that? This is because we gave the children an identity based, we gave them an identity based compliment. So what was the identity based compliment I just gave you? If I tell you, hey, you must be really smart, that's an identity. If I give you a harder test and then you fail, what did I just take away from you? Your identity of you being smart, didn't I? But if I tell you, hey, you must be really work really hard, and now if you don't take the test, if you don't take the harder test, what did I just take away from you? I took away the identity that I work hard, that I push myself. You see that? You see how the brain and how the brains automatically are finding identities and cues for identities. So, but for a team, if you this is why when you hear me, when you hear people or when you compliment your team, you don't compliment it just on congratulations on hitting that rank. Congratulations for being a diamond. Congratulations for being a silver. You congratulations for all the work you did for being a silver. Congratulations for all those meetings you did for being a silver. You follow me? So you're praising work-based identity versus a result-based identity, which is very, very smart to do that because your brain works that way. And it's right now. Now get this. They did a third test. So they did a test again. They were given the same test, the third time they were given the same test from the test one, from the first test, the equivalent of the hardness, right? So the difficultness. Group A, who were supposed to be the smart ones, did 20% worse. Group B did 30% better. Why did Group B did 36% better? Because what? They built myelin. They were pushed to the edge of their abilities. So the Group B was pushed to the edge of the ability because they got a harder test the second time around, and now they built myelin. So when they would give the same test, they got better. This is what I'm talking about, guys. And the book, the Carol Dweck wrote the book, Mindset, and she says, we'll finish with this. When we praise people for their intelligence, we tell them that's the name of the game. Look smart. Don't risk making mistakes. Praise effort works because it reflects the biological reality. Biological reality. What's the biological reality? That the struggle is not even an option. It's a biological requirement, right? That's the biological reality. Skill circuits, he says, are not easily built. Deep practice requires serious efforts and passionate work. Effort-based language works because it speaks directly to the core of the learning experience. And when it comes to ignition, right, there's nothing more powerful. When it types in that ignition, that energy, there's nothing more powerful than that. So, guys, we're gonna call it a stop right here. We're gonna do a hard stop right here, and I hope this is you're having as much fun as I am going over this information. Again, I'm a geek when it comes to that, when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I enjoy doing it. Thank you very much, guys. I love every single one of you. We're gonna continue the book. Obviously, we're going through the entire book. I just gave you the chunks of the entire book. But if you want to go get the book, The Talent Code, go enjoy it. You're gonna have a blast listening. It's a great audiobook and a lot of stuff in it. So, guys, have a great day. Let's go out there, make it happen, and let's operate at the edge of our abilities.